Bonjour, Kinamagi and Ireland edition of CAS, and welcome to this production of the My Math Network. Today's episode, Chapter 7, Lesson 6, Patterns. Let's begin by looking at our previous session's assignment, where we were looking at figures and toothpicks to make patterns. And we had found that we went from 3 to 5 to 7 to 9. Over here, we had went from 3 to 6 to 9 to 12. So the pattern for exercise 1 has a rule of add 2, while the rule for exercise 2 is add 3. So in this step, we were comparing 2 and 1. Over here, we looked at plant A's growth rates and plant B's. And the answer, each day after day 1, plant B was 3 times as tall as plant A. So on day 1, they were 0. We had 2 and 6, 4 and 12, 6 and 18, 8 and 24, and so on. Now, obviously, as long as you had something that stated something similar to this, it does not have to be phrased exactly the same. So let's look at today's assignment, just so you have an idea of where we're going. And we're looking at patterns. And that's going to build off primarily the chart piece. You can see that we have some graphs here. And during the assignment, we're going to have to identify the pattern, which means we're going to have to say add, subtract, multiply, or divide, and then write the next 3 terms in the sequence. And you'll see a little bit about that as we go. We have a story problem, and then we have identify the pattern and find the missing terms. A vocabulary, and we'll check on those words. And then which represents the next 3 terms in the sequence. So you need to identify the sequence to get the term. And you'll see those words here, term and sequence. Those are our vocabulary. Term is a number on the list, and a sequence is a list of numbers that follow a specific pattern. All right, so let's launch Chapter 7, Lesson 6, Patterns. This packet begins on page 513, so you should have that available to you. If you don't, you should pause the video, go get it, unpause the video, and carry forward. If you don't have the packet available, like you left it in an antes, you should use notebook paper so that you have this as a reference when we go to do the assignment and or any kind of assessments. So let's go and look at our essential question. How are patterns used to solve problems? And yesterday as well as today, that's exactly what the assignment is all about, is finding that pattern and knowing the next terms in order to solve it. This part is not in your book. How do you determine the relationship between numbers in a sequence? I look for a pattern. Is it going up by 3? Is it doubling? Is it being divided by 2? Is it decreasing by 1? You have to find that. Draw lines to match each sequence with the correct rule. Then draw lines to match each rule with the next 3 terms in the sequence. And I'm going to do this for you. Obviously, this is in your book. So first, I have to identify the pattern. Up by 9, up by 9, increase. It's increasing by 9, which is add 9. So it goes there. So 32 plus 9 is 41, and there's the 1 that's going to go with 41. I do this by color. So this one, 448, 224, I can see it's being divided by 2, and half of 56 is 28, and that's where that pattern's going to be. All right, it's going down by 14, down by 4. All right, I see the subtract 14. And 120 minus 14 is 106. Now it's times 3 times 3. Okay, so multiplied by 3. 54 times 3 is going to be 150 plus 12, 162. So there we go. And even though there's only one left, let's still look at it without peeking. It went up 12, up 12, up 12. So let's add 12. And 110 plus 12 is 122. And although it's quicker for me, it's just that experience with numbers. The more you do math, the easier it will become. And I know you don't necessarily have a colored pencil box around to do it like this, and that's all right. This wasn't in your book, so I'm going to go ahead and clear the drawings. You see the answers. Let's go ahead and get into the book. This will be on page 513. At the top of your paper, it says a sequence is a list of numbers that follows a specific pattern. That's highlighted in yellow. And each number in the list is called a term. Those are our vocabulary. We'll need those on the homework for sure. In our example basic says Mary and her friends find a 4-leaf clover during lunch. A 4-leaf clover has 4 leaves. The table shows the number of leaves for several 4-leaf clovers. Extend the pattern to find the next 3 terms. So first, 1 4-leaf clover was 4. 2 was 8. 3 was 12. 4 was 16. And we're adding 4 to each. Each term is 4 more than the one before it. So 16 plus 4 is 20. 20 plus 4 is 24. And 24 plus 4 is 28. So our next 3 terms, 20, 24, sorry about the penmanship there, and 28. Some of you might already notice that the number of leaves, L equals 4 times the number of clovers, or 4C. So that's something to recognize if you're doing it more in a middle school mindset, or you can just keep adding 4. Go ahead and write those in about a 513. And then we'll turn to the top of 514. Give you a few more seconds. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clear the drawings. And just as a reminder, when I say I'm going to clear the drawings, if you're at home and you need to write down a few more numbers and I'm going a little too fast, you can pause the video, write it down, and then move forward. You're always welcome to rewind the video as well in order to repeat or replay a section. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clear the drawings now. And you can see the answers there. So let's go to the top of 514, example niche. Maria and Young are training to run a half marathon. A half marathon is about 13 miles. Their weekly training plans are shown in the table. Use the information to write a sequence to represent each person's weekly training plan. Then compare the plans. So I look with Maria, started with 2 miles, and it will add 2 miles per week for each of the next 4. Young is starting at 4 and adding 4 miles per week. So with a sequence with 5 terms for Maria's plan, you see that it would be 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. For Young, we're starting at 4 and adding 4, 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. Comparing those plans, Young plans to run twice as many miles as Maria. And you see that because 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 6 times 2 is 12, 8 times 2 is 16, 10 times 2 is 20. Go ahead and write that in. We'll do the guided practice together next. Talk math, and then you guys will have an opportunity to practice just a few, and then we'll move forward. All right, I'm going to move on to the next screen. Guided practice. I want you to fill this in as I go, and we'll talk it through. Write the next three terms in the sequence 1, 4, 7, 10. Each term in the sequence can be found by adding what to the previous? Well, 4 minus 1 is 3, 7 minus 4 is 3, and 10 minus 7 is 3. So I can see that I'm adding 3. So now we go 10 plus 3 is, if you said 13, good job. So now I'm going to go ahead and write it to start the next one. 13 plus 3 is 16. Make sure you're writing these in as we go and not just waiting till the end. So I'm going to take this number, I'm going to write it over here. 16 plus 3 is 19. Mission. So the next three terms are these three digits right here. You just write them down here. 13, 16, and 19. We'll go ahead and I will leave this here for just a moment while you write that in. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clear the drawing. Let me see the answers. We did well. How are the sequences 2, 5, 8, 11, and 2, 6, 18, and 54 alike? How are they different? So we can see they're going up by 3. And this one, they're multiplying by 3. Well, they're alike in that they follow a pattern. They're different as in one is adding 3 and the other is multiplying by 3. But both are following a set pattern. All right, you guys are going to practice a couple. I want you to do numbers 2, 4, and 5. So I'll circle those 3 for you. You're going to identify the pattern. That's going to tell me was it going up, down, or otherwise. And then you're going to write the next 3 terms in the sequence. So you'll have 3 more numbers, not 3 digits, 3 numbers. So you can go ahead whenever you're ready, pause the video, and we'll move forward. You may pause the video now. All right, let's look at how it went. Welcome back. On this one, we went 0, 7, 14, 21. We were adding 7. 21 plus 7 is 28. 28 plus 7 is 35. 35 plus 7 is 42. A lot of good football numbers there. Number 3 we didn't do, but we divided it by 3. And you would have done that by saying, okay, I know it's not subtracting because it's going by different, so it's got to be divided. So I would have divided 486 into 1458 and assume that they're going to come out with a whole number. A little more work. Probably could have done 54 into 162, see if what that is, and then multiplied that by whatever that digit was in hopes of getting that, and then that too. All right, number 4 we did do. We went down by 6 each. So 54 minus 6 is 48, minus 6 is 42, minus 6 is 36. And number 5, we multiplied by 3. 1 times 3, 3 times 3, 9 times 3. 27 times 3 is 81. 81 times 3 is 243. 243 times 3 is 729. You'll find that as you get into the middle school level, there are situations like on a problem like number 3 where calculators start to come into play. And we're going to do 2 more problems and call it good. Let's do number 6 and let's do number 9. So 6 and 9, you can go ahead and pause the video now. Welcome back. Let's see how you did. On number 6, we were multiplying by 2. 16 times 2 is 32, times 2 is 64, times 2 is 128. And number 9, we're dividing by 2. So if you start seeing the pattern here, here's your 64, there's your 128. If I had doubled that, it'd been 256. These are inverse patterns almost. They're just going the opposite direction. And 64 divided by 2 is 32. There that is. 32 divided by 2 is 16. There's that one. Divided by 2 is 8. There you go. And a lot of what we're doing right now, we're not going to worry about going into decimals, fortunately. And let's now get ready to dismiss for the homework. On these ones, again, you're going to write down, are you increasing or adding, decreasing or subtracting, multiplying or dividing, and then give the next 3 terms in the sequence. I do need multiple numbers. Number 5, you're going to see the price, right? The cost of 1, 2, 3, and 4 sandwiches for each restaurant. So you'll want to probably create a chart. Compare the total cost of 4 sandwiches. So you're going to look specifically at 4 sandwiches at Dino's Diner and at Carlo's Cafe. Tell us how they compare in price. Number 6, we talked about identifying the pattern, finding the missing term. 7 is going to be the vocabulary words. We've mentioned those a few times. And number 8, which represents the next 3 terms in the sequence. Multiple ways to turn this in. You could put your name on it, on top and on bottom, or top on both sides, and scan or take a picture of it and email it or text it to me. You could also figure it out on paper and then put it on the Google form. Or if you're an in-person student at some point, you can submit it when you come into class. Group A students should submit any assignments during Mondays and Tuesdays. Group B's on Thursdays and Fridays. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Hope you all have a minogijigad. Minwa, Pamapi.